fucking cheese!
Welcome to episode 81 of the Hipsters United podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me this week are Jason.
Hello.
Susan.
Hey!
And Eric.
Yo.
It's about to get very exciting for Pumpkins fans as the band is starting a tour this week that will extend into November when presumably Oceania will be released on the internet and Gish and Siamese Dream will be reissued in stores. So let's go ahead and get started. The Smashing Pumpkins Record Club, or SPRC, is live, and so far we've gotten the following tracks for free. A demo of Drown, an instrumental demo of Suicide Kiss, which eventually became Geek U.S.A., and an instrumental demo called Barbed Wire, which eventually became the unreleased song Tulips. Right now, the SPRC is basically just a splash page on SmashingPumpkins.com, but the band has hired a design firm to build out a full site to house the project, and along with more free releases, there will possibly also be material to purchase one of these days. Eric, as our resident old-school fan, has the SPRC met your expectations so far, and why do you think the band's focused on the post-Gish, pre-Siamese era to start with?
Probably because the Gish is going to be the first re-release to come out. I mean, they're probably going through that stuff first, and that's why they're finding all the stuff. I'm sure there's a lot more material from later on, but as they're going through the stuff from Gish to put out the re-release, they're going to be finding all this Gish era stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, not buying it.
No?
No, I'm just joking, Eric. That makes perfect sense.
Just a wild theory. But, yeah, I mean, we've gotten 3 free songs already, and it's barely started, and we haven't even had a physical re-release yet, so I'm sure once those are out of the way and they have more time to think about things, I'm sure we'll be getting a lot more stuff.
By the way, can we put a moratorium on use of the phrase physical release? I think it's really a little racy. I don't know.
I'll try and keep that in mind.
Controversial.
We need to come up with a synonym.
A record, an album.
An in-store offering. Musical offering.
Musical offering.
So, Eric, have you been happy with the songs they've released so far? I mean, they've been free, so can't complain too much.
Yeah, that's always true. I mean, I don't think it's realistic to expect everything to be album quality material. I mean, these are things that didn't get released. I mean, there's quite a range of unreleased stuff. I mean, some of it's good, some of it's not so good. I mean, just like thinking of the stuff on Mashed Potatoes, even there's a range of like Mole-Ass Kiss I would totally listen to on a regular basis, but maybe like Waiting for You Now or something, yeah, it's okay to listen to a couple times, but it's not something that's going to go on my top rated or anything.
Eric, it seems like your expectations are totally reasonable.
Go figure.
But aren't you a longtime fan?
One could say that, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's only you.
Yeah. So. I'm the only realistic one.
I actually, I mean, we'll talk about that more a little bit later, but as far as just the reaction to the SPRC has been, I mean, I haven't seen a negative word about it, and honestly, I'm a little bit surprised because the types of things they're releasing, I mean, these are, instrumental demos. Besides the Drown demo, the other 2 songs are instrumental demos, and has such a limited appeal to anyone outside of us, basically, the hardcore fans, us and the people who would be listening to this podcast. I've been happy with it. I mean, it's pretty much what I expected. The only thing I would like to see more of is more like explanation about what the stuff is. I mean, there was that nice video about Drown, which is good, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about the background behind some of these other songs too. And I guess we have an opportunity for that. There's apparently a very long Twitter chat or Live Nation chat or something going on tomorrow. So by the time you hear this podcast, it'll have already happened, but maybe I'll submit a question about asking for some background around the story behind Barbed Wire and why Tulips was never released.
Forgot that it's tomorrow already.
We have to remember not to speculate about the nature of tomorrow's chat, considering it'll already be over.
Yeah.
One of my quibbles with SPRC, well, it's not really a quibble with SPRC, it's a quibble with everyone talking about it, why is every unreleased track called a demo? I mean, are they all really demos? Aren't some of them just takes? Or, I don't know.
That's true. I guess technically a demo would be something that's recorded to kind of give
A demonstration
somebody...
track.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to start problems.
Maybe it was a demo for the rest of the band. Maybe they...
I don't know that the band is actually the ones calling everything a demo. I just see everyone saying, oh, these are demos. I'm like...
One thing I've got to say, particularly as far as, like, the Drown version of Drown that was released, which I thought was outstanding. Smoking, yeah, all that. I thought it was, I don't know, sort of like pie in the face to all the people who say, like, nobody ever played an SP1 except Billy and Jimmy. Like, obviously, I mean, the way they described it, unless I'm, like, totally misremembering, is, like, this was kind of like a live take that they did. So I think that's kind of cool. I like kind of the rawness of that, and it's kind of also, like, I'm not going to say that, there's a lot of people in the current fandom who I think underestimate the contributions of former SP members, and so I think it's kind of neat to, hear everybody jamming. I love that, so.
Yeah, a lot of those, like, old studio things, like Real Time or Gravity demos, I mean, it's obvious that they're all four of them in a room playing together, and you even get them, like, little bits of them talking to each other, like, well, the occasional, like, correction, like Billy saying, oh no, that's a C sharp there, or what was it the French movie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like, I can't believe you messed it up.
But supposedly we might get another song this week. I don't know. I mean, they were talking about...
Right.
Like Carrie said, another song was imminent. And so I don't know if that would be... He was kind of hinting that it might be this week, but it should be pretty soon. So obviously the free train doesn't seem to be over yet. So I'm actually really pleasantly surprised they're going to be giving us so much free stuff. Because I assumed it would be like one or two free things, and then like they're gonna start asking for our pocket change, So I was totally wrong about that, and it's pretty awesome. So yay.
I'm kind of surprised they've done so much without actually setting the website up. I'm really interested, just as a web designer, I'm interested to see what they're going to do with the actual website once it gets up and running. Right now they have that page, and so far the songs to download them, you clicked on certain parts of the image. There was the rat last time, and I think Carrie even said what the next one's going to be. I forget what he said.
About the ram head, right?
They were talking about the ram and the chat, but I think they were just kind of... He was asking for suggestions.
I think for the charging thing, I mean, if you remember back to when they first started talking about, before it was called the SPRC, when they were talking about releasing songs or videos or whatever, and they were talking about a subscription model, everyone threw a fit about that, and so he was like, fine, forget it. So maybe that's why they're doing all this free stuff now, is because they kind of got a bad taste from the mere suggestion of charging for money for this stuff.
So maybe they'll give us 20 free songs, and then they can be like, we gave you 20 free songs, and then they can start charging 69 cents like LMFAO or $1.29 like Adele.
I think it's been interesting to see the goodwill that this project has generated. Like, even acclaimed actor Elijah Wood is, like, tweeting about this. I think that's pretty... I'm kind of like an Elijah Wood fan ever since he was, like, 8 and I was 8 and he was in Huckleberry Finn. So, Elijah, if you're listening to this podcast, contact us via the HU contact form, and we'll have you on as a celeb fan of Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, the project clearly isn't meant to attract anyone other than hardcore fans, at least based on their song selection so far. So, yeah, I'm glad to see that it's being well received, and it's, I don't know, slightly surprising considering the mixed way that other things have been received. But I am interested to see also, once they start charging, whether there will be a marked difference between the types of things that they release for free versus the types of things they charge for. Maybe we'll be paying for vocals. Anything with vocals on it will cost money. Anything free will be
Want
instrumental.
to hear me sing?
It'll cost you, kid. I'm kind of curious if they'll adopt the Kickstarter method, where like different contribution levels will get you different levels of whatever.
I mean, I don't think they'd out and out and use that, but I think they're building their own framework on the site. But I think it's possible that they would kind of do something like that. Clearly, they want to gauge how many people, what the market is for particular kinds of releases. And so I think it's unquestionable they're going to be having to do some kind of little surveying like that to see what they come up with. I'm just really interested to see what happens because, particularly with the website, I mean, it seems like they might just be maybe building out the website a little bit. I mean, beyond just SPRC. So I'm really excited to see where this all goes.
Well, Oceania is a wrap, and we'll presumably start hearing some of that material from it played live during this upcoming tour. In an interview with Billboard, Billy put kind of an ominous spin on the release of Oceania, saying, I think if Oceania basically hits the same wall a lot of the other stuff has hit, we're going to have to step back and really evaluate where we're going, because it's a tremendous amount of energy to put out just to feel like you're throwing a pebble in the ocean. Susan, what are your expectations for the album in terms of reception, impact, and whether it'll hit the same wall that Billy referred to the rest of Tiergarten hitting?
Well, it's really interesting that he would say that. I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind from that quote is that Billy, we've talked about this before, he's up against a wall. He wants to have like total artistic integrity, and also he thinks that like if you're putting out good product, you're automatically like if you're putting out amazing music, you're going to have hit singles. And that's not in like top sales, and that's not really the case. I mean, and so it's like he kind of assumes that if he's not selling 1 million records or whatever, that his art is less, is somehow less than. And it's really frustrating as a fan because I think usually what he puts out is good. But spinning back around to sort of my expectations, it's really hard to know what to expect. I mean, the people who've heard it are, raving about it, but, the people who have access to the music now are obviously colleagues of Billy's, friends of his, people who've contributed to the album, big fans. And so, it's kind of hard to say, they're not going to say negative things about the music. I wouldn't expect that. And one of the things that keeps getting said is it's going back to that old pumpkin sound, the pumpkin sound that you know and love. And I feel like that's been said about every album,
Yeah.
Right.
That was said about Machina, that was said about Zeitgeist, and it's hard for me to evaluate that, and I don't really want them to go back to something they've done before, so that actually more worries me than it excites me, because I see a lot of people in the forums like, oh yeah, it's going to be Siamese Dream, it's going to have that old pumpkin sound, and I'm kind of like, no, I want him to do something new and exciting, I want him to explore. And I mean, I don't really think he's gone out and made Siamese Dream 2. I don't think that at all. But it's just really interesting to me from a marketing standpoint that that's how they're kind of teasing this album because, I think it's been, even though they've said that about every album, like it's going to be that sound you love, I think it's even more with this album, particularly when they say it has that Siamese Dream sound. I mean, that to me is like, they're really hyping this thing up, and they're hyping it up to people who loved that old sound and have been iffy on the band since. And I'm not so sure how I really feel about that, because I feel like I've been there with them through a lot of things that other people didn't like. So I just don't know how to evaluate what people are saying, because like I said, this has been said before. I think it's maybe a little more pronounced this time, but I don't really know what to make of it. I am excited. I will say that. I think it's going to be pretty cool, so I'm excited to hear it, but I don't know what to make of the way that they're promoting this album via social media. I really don't know how to evaluate it.
Especially given the number of times he's said that he doesn't want to do the same thing over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think you should worry. Like you said, they've said that many times about many previous albums. I think the one difference this time, though, has been, I mean, I'm no guitar tech expert, but it sounds like there's been a lot of talk of, oh yeah, we're using the same pedal that we used for, this song in Siamese Dream. So even beyond just the other people saying, oh yeah, it sounds like Siamese Dream, there's also kind of the, oh yeah, I'm using the same guitar I used for this song, we're using this is the exact same pedal that we used for this song on Siamese Dream.
And doing dubs and the whatever, all that other stuff.
I said to Jason, I think it was Jessica Veronica that tweeted, it has that old pumpkin sound with a, like, samurai sword of futuristic noise cutting through it. And I'm like, that samurai sword is going to be synth. And all the fans are going to freak out in our comments. They're going to go crazy. I actually don't care if it's synth. I think I'm on the record that I kind of like the synth. So more power to them if it is. But it's just kind of funny because all the fans are latching onto the old pumpkin sound. And it's like, but what's that futuristic sword, guys? Like,
it's Mike's new digital Roland drum kit.
The album's going to start and, like, some Siamese Dream guitar is going to come in and everyone's going to be like, yes! And then this sword of synth will chop off their head.
He'll lure them into a false sense of security.
I went back and looked at the Hipsters United Hipsters United blog about the Smashing Pumpkins, hipstersunited.com. I looked back at the post about the Fellowship, right? You wouldn't believe the universal hosannas that greeted the release of the Fellowship. I didn't remember this at all. You should go back and look at the comments. Like, people it was overwhelmingly positive. So.
Whereas now, I think when people look back on it, I don't think that there's been as much people saying, oh yeah, the Fellowship was one of the best songs released from Tiergarten.
I always see people saying how all of the songs are ruined in production by too many synthesizers and how the live version was so much better.
Well, it could happen again because, I mean, there'll be boots out of, people are going to record these first couple shows in the U.S. and they'll be available and circulating before the album comes out, so,
But I don't think they're going to play all the songs for that specific reason. Didn't Billy make that comment that they don't want to...
Yeah, they're not going to play all of the songs.
Which is good. I mean, it's typical when a band is touring to promote an album that hasn't come out yet, even if it's about to come out, or even if the album's just come out, they usually don't play every song, so...
So, Chris, the topic is how Oceania is going to be received. Is that what we're talking about right now?
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly how it's going to be received. I'm just joking. I mean, exactly. But, I mean, one thing you can be sure, it's going to get far more attention than the Tiergarten songs have so far.
Yeah.
And it's, the media, they just have not adjusted to, or maybe there's no reason to adjust, but they just don't, like if a band has released one song, they just don't care. They don't care enough. But an album will get you, like, you can go on all the late night talk shows and you can, get written about in every newspaper in the country. I mean, that's just the way it is. And we didn't really necessarily know that, I don't think, until Tiergarten. And I think it's very obvious now. I mean, you watch, this album is going to get tons of attention. Probably less than Zeitgeist, simply because Zeitgeist was the comeback of the whole band, and it had a major label behind it and all that. But it'll be in the ballpark. It'll be more like Zeitgeist than it will be like Tiergarten in terms of how much attention people pay.
It'll be more like Machina 2.
We still don't know if there's any label involvement in this.
It's hard to compare anything to something that happened in 2000. I mean, that's practically a pre-Google world. So I know Google existed then, but it wasn't Google maybe yet.
Did it? I don't even remember.
It did, but just barely, I think. Wasn't Google's 10th anniversary was not that long ago.
So, but, okay, so that, in terms of amount of attention is one thing, and then obviously there's, like, the temperature of the attention, right? Is it going to be good or bad?
Right.
People are just committed to what they think at this point. I mean, the idea that this record is going to come out and change people's minds, really doubtful. But here's the thing. every Smashing Pumpkins album has gotten mixed reviews. Every single one at the time it's come out has gotten mixed reviews. And that goes for Siamese Dream, that goes for Melancholy and Infinite Sadness, and it goes for Zeitgeist, you know? And I guarantee, I would bet my house, if I had a house, on mixed reviews for this album, you know? There'll be some good ones and there'll be some bad ones. And you know, I would also bet that people will act as though it got horrible reviews. Because that's what happened with Zeitgeist. There were mixed reviews and people acted like it had gotten horrible reviews, you know? And I would, you know, if you had to bet on something, I would just bet on that repeating itself. But.
Do you think that the fact that they're going to be releasing it digitally for free online a month or two before
just like Radiohead
release is going to affect how it's received at all?
Oh, yeah, it's like, you know, Radiohead does it, and Smashing Pumpkins and Billy Corgan come along and get the idea.
When will Billy Corgan stop ripping off Tom York? It will never end.
Didn't Trent Reznor do this first, too? I think he and Tom York tied.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's about what I think the reaction will be. Here comes Billy Corgan to do something he thinks is innovative, but it's already been done by Radiohead.
Well, with this tour starting a month or two before the album is released online and the reissues happening around the same time probably, there's a chance for the band to really build some momentum, I think. Their last tour was hit heavy, and I mean, I think it was generally considered a success, but it didn't really seem to bring any added attention to Teargarden, or did it? Feel free to correct me if you think it did. But Eric, is there anything you think that the band could or should do on this tour to put themselves in the best position going into their winter of releases? I mean, do you think they should just play Gish and Siamese Dream all the way through and say, hey guys, remember these? Now you can go out and buy the albums again.
Well, we know they've been rehearsing Geek U.S.A. and I think Frail and Bedazzled.
We actually know they're going to play Geek U.S.A. since Nicole revealed that the other
Nicole
day.
doesn't write the set lists.
But yeah, I'm sure they'll have their old hits and they'll have a lot of the newer songs. And I'm sure, I mean, obviously Billy is going to mention at every show that there is a new album and how to get it and when it's coming out and how it's coming out and all that. So, I mean, that's pretty much all he can do in a live setting. I mean, he did that on the last tour with all the free songs, saying, like, you know, you can download these songs on smashingpumpkins.com. And it's like, how many people know about it? And, like, maybe a third of the crowd are like, woo. He's like, okay, thank you. And then everyone else, you know, go to the website, download them for free. And, I mean, other than that, I mean, what can they do?
He can't really do that yet, though, because the tour starts this week, and there won't be anything for people to actually do until, you know, I'm assuming sometime mid-November.
Well, I mean, he can obviously say, you know, this is from our new album, which is going to be coming out online on this day and in stores on this day or whatever.
I don't think they know that yet, though.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm sure they've got a pretty good idea. I mean, at least within the month range. Or else he'll just say, like, coming soon or something like that.
I don't know. Does playing new songs on a tour ever help you? I mean, ever? Does anyone ever like that? Does it ever get a positive reception? I mean, it does, but only if your band is perceived as some sort of extremely artistic, you know, unit who's expected to play new songs. Like if you're Radiohead or if you're Animal Collective. Like if Radiohead went out and toured on hits, people would be like horrified, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, if the Pumpkins go out and play new songs, the reaction will be negative. I mean, you know, let's face it.
Think of it as like the Double Door shows or was it the Viper Room where they did the new Adore before Adore came out?
Yeah.
I just don't think people can even process new music on a first listen.
I don't think it's going to be even remotely like that where it's all new stuff with a couple of old songs at the end, like the Double Door shows were. I think it's going to be a pretty good mix of new and old.
Oh, I think that's probably true. But the context of the conversation was, you know, is this going to help? I mean, I don't know. As I heard what Chris was saying, like, you know, did the last tour help Teargarden? And I just read into that. Is this tour going to help Oceania? And I don't think so. I mean, Oceania is going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, you know, last summer when I went to the sound checks and saw them, I heard two songs. I had heard Make It Happen before, because there was a recording of that from Backwards Clock Society. But I had not heard My Love is Winter or Blessed Mother at that point. And, like, when you leave the venue, you have, like, kind of a vague impression of what those songs are like. Like, I think, like how he described Blessed Mother was kind of a dirgy song, right? But until I heard it, I think there's that YouTube video of them playing it. They played it in their main set at Chicago at the Metro show last year. Until you, like, really hear it a couple times, it's really even hard to process what you've heard in a live music setting. Like, you don't leave. I mean, my sense is when you hear a brand new song that you've never heard before in a live setting and you leave, you're usually not like, yeah, that was awesome, I totally get that song. Like, you're like, okay, that was a cool song, it had this kind of sound, I'd like to hear it again. But it's really hard to process music, I think, when you're hearing it like that for the first time.
Well,
so,
Jason's singing along to Dross on its second ever.
Hey, come on. That was yeah, it was because we taped it.
Well, that's actually I think it'll be closer to how the Arising tour was to Machina, will be how this tour is to Oceania.
I hope people don't hear things I'm saying and think that I'm saying Oceania is not going to be good. I expect it to be good. Billy always does good, pretty much, as far as in my judgment. But I just mean, I don't even think it's really about good or bad. I think people come in, they basically prejudge music mostly. That's just my feeling.
Right. The headline and the score before they get it, and then they just fill in whatever.
Yeah, mostly. I'm not saying entirely, but to a large extent, I think things are prejudged.
Yeah.
So.
On some level, I think it'll actually be easier for him to sell the re-releases. Like, I have a hunch that this tour is going to be, I bet they'll focus a lot on, on music from what's going to be reissued. And I think that, that could be a good way to promote those. I wouldn't be surprised if this tour was, like, a little bit lighter on Melancholy and Machina and those kinds of things, because they're promoting the reissues as well. Right. And to me, it actually seems like a bigger slam dunk to promote those and the songs that people know from those old albums than the new songs. Because I just think it's just so hard to get people to jump on board with your new music unless you are, like...
I mean, I think certainly they're going to be promoting the new movie Footloose. And they'll play Window Pane.
Dum, 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 dum.
Just like they helped promote Watchmen back in 08. You watch. You laugh, Chris.
Did they play that?
Beginning is the end is the beginning. They did play that on their tour. Yep.
You watch.
They're going to start the show with Window Pane.
Fictional $100.
All the kids will remember this one from the movie Footloose.
You may have recently seen this during the train scene.
I kind of want to go see that movie. I like Julianne Hough. She's super cute. Silence.
Tell us how it is.
Okay.
I think their main opportunity with this tour is pretty much just to get the people who are there excited. And I think that was their biggest success of the last tour that they did as opposed to the 20th anniversary tour, which, while I enjoyed the show I went to, maybe not as much as a lot of the other people there because it was the ill-fated Halloween show, but it
was very special.
Yeah. I think the last tour, there was a big difference when everyone was coming out of the show at the end, and that's where I think they can get the momentum going into their releases, is people go to these shows, they enjoy themselves, maybe the Pumpkins are on their radar a little bit more, and, they're in their local Best Buy, and they see that the Gish or Siamese Dream are reissued, and there's all this extra stuff on there, and they're like, oh yeah, I just saw them last month, and they were really good. But yeah, I think this may be the most Gish-friendly tour in recent memory. I know people that's always their big thing, is they want the Pumpkins to play more stuff from Gish. And now this is your chance, people, since they did not go through with their plan from a few years ago to play a Gish-style tour. That was one of Billy's ideas a few years ago that they didn't do. But I think this is going to be the next best thing. If they don't play insert your favorite Gish song here on this tour, that may be it, people.
I mean, another thing I would say is that if you think about what we know or what we think we know about the sound of Oceania, right? I mean, and you contrast it with Zeitgeist, the only other album they've toured on as a revived band. I mean, if you're picking songs to go with the Oceania music, don't you think? I mean, all they've said is Siamese Dream, Siamese Dream, Siamese Dream. He said long songs. He
Shoegaze.
says twin shooting star solos and all that stuff. I mean, doesn't that sound like the kind of songs that your typical, like, drooling fanboy gets wet for? Like, the watery epics, you know, the songs that always top the fan polls. Like, don't you think, like... And those are songs that... Right, exactly. And those are songs that didn't necessarily come out when they were touring on Zeitgeist. I mean, they did a little more on the 20th anniversary tour or whatever, right? But when they toured on Zeitgeist, like, you heard stuff like Lucky 13... you know, and Heavy Metal Machine being pulled out alongside the Zeitgeist stuff, right? So, I mean, if there's a time to pull out some of those songs that, like, make the fanboys extremely, extremely happy in that special way, then, you know, I would guess it'll be this tour.
My hands.
I always am secretly holding out hope that they'll play some pre-Gish song, so I guess this is my last best chance for that, too, since... presumably if there's not necessarily Spite Face, but like I was very excited to hear them play Translucent during the residency shows. Not in person, obviously. I was excited to.
I was there.
Hear it online afterwards. I know. I am quite jealous of that.
You know, I think
it was awesome too. It was amazing. Translucent was
Didn't they do Vanilla recently?
Still
too?
a different person.
Or am I imagining that?
I'm really hopeful that these shows will continue to play on, like, the good vibe that the band has going. I mean, it's you know, those shows last year were really positive. I feel like the ones I went to, I think 3 shows, and fans were all really pretty much on board. Maybe a little bit less so in the first show we went to, but in the second 2 shows, I feel like the audience was really digging it. And so I guess, you know, I'm really hopeful that I think, like, everybody in the band really gets along well. They kind of seem like, you know, kind of like the Brady Bunch right now, like a variety of ages, a variety of different people from different walks of life, but they've all come together to make this crazy band, and they're like, you know, like touring America. I don't know. It's kind of funny because the band is, like, so different than it was even a couple of years ago, but I think the current incarnation they have right now is just like swimming in good vibes. And obviously in late 2008, there was stuff going on probably between Billy and Jimmy that we didn't even know about leading up to, you know, Jimmy's departure. So, you know, I think it's exciting. I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that plays out in the shows. I really hope they use those good vibes to their benefit just going forward. And this is supposed to be like a warm-up tour, so next year they're going to be, you know, touring the nation again, which is kind of interesting, because I wonder when the U.S. market will be kind of saturated with Pumpkins touring, but, you know, for my sake, hopefully not ever, but realistically...
Until they come to Columbus again.
Yeah. So, you know, I guess it'll be interesting to see where that happens, but I think they're really trying to build up goodwill right now. I mean...
I'm telling you, if they want to take it to the next level, I got 4 words. Jeff Schroeder, stage dive. It's going to be off the hook.
Get a big circle pit going, guys.
I think the other members should talk more.
Well, I mean, I think...
That's my idea.
You know, I could see that being the case because Nicole actually said... Nicole has been very... We know all this stuff about Nicole because she's so active on the social medias.
Right.
But she said at one point last year that she didn't speak very much on the shows because she was just kind of still finding her groove and place in the band. But I can see that they would... I mean, Jeff strikes me maybe as just kind of a... Well, I don't know. I say a reticent person, but...
Jeff's got a good dry sense of humor.
Yeah, so I mean, I can see that happening because they're really gelled to the point where they're a band and they're like sitting around all night recording background vocals. That just always... that kind of image makes me just kind of...
Makes you think of Michael McDonald.
Well, it makes me smile inside, kind of. I don't know. It's kind of a happy thought. So,
I think
I
that
don't
would
know.
go a long way towards making people consider them more as a band instead of like, oh, what about James and Darcy, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, James and Darcy, I mean, completely ignoring musical talent or whatever, they had a personality on the stage. They cracked jokes, they talked, they interacted. And so I think if Nicole and Jeff and even Mike were to do that more often, they would be, I mean, people would think of them more as band members rather than, oh, they're just there playing to back up Billy Corgan's new semi-solo project, but using the Pumpkins name or whatever people are thinking.
Well, I mean, even Billy said when he restarted the Pumpkins that he sort of envisioned it as a collective, a rotating personnel where people would come in and come out. And I mean, if you're doing it on that basis, you know, especially with the Zeitgeist, where I'm thinking about that tour, you know, where Billy and Jimmy recorded the music, then he brought in the other folks to tour with them, you know, you're kind of more Billy's employee, you know what I mean? And you're a touring member, and that's not to diminish, like, I think a lot of those, like, the boots of those shows are amazing, and I think they definitely had a good thing going with that incarnation of the band. I mean, they are tight, really good recordings, some of those recordings. But at the same time, you know, I think they came in with the mindset that I can come and go, you know, because, like, Lisa Harriton is still clearly, like, these folks and Ginger, they're still clearly friends with Billy, but, you know, life happens and they moved on to different things. You know, I think the people that are in now are a lot more invested in the music, and I think there could be more of a vibe of, like, you know, we're a real band, we're joking around together, you know, but it's hard, again, when, you know, Billy is still clearly the captain of that ship, you know? So, whereas if I'm James or Darcy, you know, and I joined up in a band from nothing, you know, where we were touring, like, itty-bitty clubs to crowds of 10 people,
Right.
You don't view yourself as an employee, and you also,
You're a co-owner.
you know, you understand, I mean, that Billy's kind of the ship leader, and that Billy's really invested in that role, but at the same time, you're maybe a little more willing to challenge him or joke around with him on stage or view yourself potentially as, like, an equal partner in the venture. So, I mean, I actually think it'll be really interesting to see what happens with that on this tour. I definitely would like to see more of that. I'm excited that this tour, you know, hopefully will be, I had a lot of fun at the shows I went to last year, but, you know, I'm excited to hear more new music, more deep cuts, if you will. So I'm pretty excited for this tour. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, especially since they've all been together, they've gone on tour together, and then they've been in the studio together. So now we're going to see them on tour again. So that should be interesting.
Well,
Is Lisa Harriton going to come back? Lisa, is she coming back? I mean, she's been playing the field. She's been licking other lollipops, as it were.
Getting served
Can we get
drinks
Lisa
by
back?
Let Me Kill Mister.
I miss Lisa.
I do like Lisa, but she's got Diamond Baby.
I know.
She's probably going to be touring with them
She's
soon.
rocking like a radio.
One of the other new things that's going on with this tour is that there's going to be the pre-show meetups, and I believe we have on this podcast right now one of the upcoming captains of one of these pre-show meetups. So.
Oh, Captain! My Captain!
Yeah, you can get off your desk.
Why aren't you hosting the podcast, Eric?
Ultimate power!
What have you heard so far about it? Do you know what your role as captain is going to entail?
What it sounded like from the email is that Carrie's going to get the ball rolling with discussion, and then I'm going to kind of take over. I'm not even sure what that means, but
Eric,
You will have
Carrie's
rotting fruit thrown at you.
Carrie's like, I'm out. Eric takes
it's like,
over.
okay, you guys, here's a topic. Discuss.
Which band members are better? Discuss. Eric, take it away.
Now I'm going to go backstage.
gonna-
Fun of the show.
Honestly,
Is this going to be like at Starbucks, or, I mean, do you have a sense
it'll
of
be
that?
in the venue. It'll be in the lobby of the venue. They're going to start, let's see, doors open at 6, so it's going to be like, we go in at 4:30, have the thing from 5 to 5:30, and then go back outside before the doors open, so everyone can get back in line or whatever. So it'll be at the venues.
So everyone can get back at the back of the line.
No, they'll be...
Yeah, no.
line.
If you go to the meeting, you lose your place.
or
You heard it here first.
or something. Or, no.
So are you going to be, like, recording this information? Is it going to be, like, Carrie's like, okay, how much of your, like, pension fund are you willing to turn over to Billy Corgan for your subscription to his archives? And then, like, you write down this information and give it back to them? Or is it more just, like,
I don't
we
think
chillin', we talking about the pumpkins, whatever, you know?
More importantly, are you going to bootleg the meeting?
I don't know about that.
Who here thinks pissant fucking rocks? Yeah! Yeah, hell yeah!
I know we're trying to keep it on topic as far as just the music. I mean, they said it's not going to be about Billy tweeting about chemtrails or who he's dated or anything like that. So,
They actually said that?
yes. So
Man.
Next to her,
we're trying to avoid that
your
off-topic
ideas.
snarkiness. But
Yeah, I want to start my own chemtrails related discussion. Maybe outside the venue.
yeah, I really don't know what to expect out of these yet. Or
So he's gonna, like, just drop some question and then, like, leave you with it, I guess.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it sounds almost like moderating a forum.
Interesting.
Not sure exactly
Somehow
how.
if it devolves into a discussion of GACT, we'll know why.
No. It would be lunacy or bucktick.
Google.com, my friends.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, like, what happens and the reports from the first few. I don't know. I guess I'm not going to one of the first couple shows, so I'm kind of thinking I'm gonna wait and see what happens at the early ones to decide if I'm gonna go.
Well, I don't know if I'll have Wi-Fi there or if I'm going to turn on my global roaming or not. But I know Monty will be there. He'll probably be live tweeting the whole thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'll certainly have enough time to process, what's happened.
PressPollen.com, another blog about the Smashing Pumpkins.
No, it's a news blog about the Smashing Pumpkins.
All right.
So, I mean,
Or tidbits.
I guess, I want to read, because I have enough time that I can read up and see what happens. I saw somebody on the Twitter search that was like, we're all going to get free records. And I'm like,
No.
probably not. But if I find out that they are at the first couple, I'm definitely going, right? But if it's just sitting around and talking about the pumpkins, I feel like I do that, like, all the time,
When do we sit around and talk about it?
It's almost like we're doing that now.
Almost.
It's like a virtual community meeting going on right now.
Yeah. But without Carrie Brown.
Yeah.
You're kind of like a captain.
We can get you a special badge.
Ooh.
Oh, that's okay.
Well, finally this week, when questioned about the possibility of recent unreleased material being released as outtakes or B-sides, Billy attributed the change in release quantity, at least from their Pisces/Aeroplane heyday, to the expectation level for the quality of material not being anywhere near reality. Jason, do you think he's saying that the unreleased material isn't very good compared to his standards for released material, or does he perceive the problem to be more that fan expectations are so high that they aren't even happy with the material he's releasing, never mind that which he's deemed slightly inferior?
I'll give a fictional $1 billion to anyone who can parse and make sense of what Billy says or thinks about this. Look, there's obviously a lot of people in the world whose expectations for Smashing Pumpkins music are very low. Okay? There's a lot of those people. So, if there are some people whose expectations are out of line, why does that group of people determine what Billy Corgan does?
And why now?
What's the good reason? If these old fans suck so much, why do they seemingly have so much power in what goes on? I mean, screw them. Like, if they're not going to be happy no matter what, then it doesn't matter what you do, right? So just screw them, right? If old fans can't be pleased, then, boy, why bother trying? I don't know.
Well, my question is, is
one
he
of the
saying
one of the most irritating statements Billy has ever made. I love the guy. One of the most irritating things he's ever said.
I mean, is he saying that he thinks expectations were lower in the mid-90s when they were releasing this stuff? I mean, the band's records are going multi-platinum. I think that, in general, the general average music fan probably had higher expectations of the band back then.
Yeah. Coming off Oceania, I just think that the unreleased songs from this album are going to be so amazing. I mean, you know how many people out there are thinking like that?
2?
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, probably count them on one hand. And I'm not saying I didn't like Oceania, because obviously I do. But, I mean, come on. I mean...
And I mean, I think it's just like Eric said earlier in the podcast that, we have an understanding that the first 3 tracks released on SPRC are not necessarily finished tracks, right? But we appreciate them for what they are. I think it's the same. I would love to hear a demo of, I don't know, Blessed Mother. I really like that song. Or of Make It Happen. If those are songs that he has no intent to record ever, I would be really interested in hearing them. But if what he released was kind of like a demo, the example that I give is Cottonwood Symphony, which was clearly like an acoustic demo that he did. It wasn't a finished product. Have you seen the fan reaction to that song? Fans love that song. They think it's totally awesome. So, I mean, I don't understand. I'm always going to err on the side of him releasing more music, even if if it's a demo and he tells me that and I can see that and hear that for myself, I still appreciate it for what it is.
The track record of fans' reactions to B-sides, I think, has actually been pretty high. Like, I mean, what's everyone's favorite song from Zeitgeist? It's Stellar. Obviously, Stellar was the best song, and it was a B-side type song.
No, Tarantula is obviously the best song.
Look at how many people Set the Rate of Jerry or even unreleased stuff. The
hardcore fans are more likely to latch on to some forgotten song because that's how they think of themselves. I'm this fan who pays so much attention, and you only listen to the radio singles, but let me tell you, the best song they ever did was Waiting for You Now. Right? And I mean, so what? And so somebody doesn't like a song. Hey, remember when Teargarden Theme came out and nobody thought it was any good? Remember how that destroyed everything the band had built up? It was the disappointment at the release of Teargarden Theme that caused everything to go in the shitter.
Hey, now, I like Teargarden Theme. I don't know about the backwards version, though.
It was the backwards version of Teargarden. You had everything in the palm of your hand. Pitchfork was going to give Oceania a 10.0. But then the backwards version of Teargarden Theme and the ensuing outcry ruined everything. Now everyone hates the band because of Teargarden Theme backward version.
The unfortunate thing, and this relates to both to this topic and our earlier topic about the reception of Oceania sort of determining where the band will go next. I think it's really unfortunate that Billy listens to his critics. And I mean, I say that and I don't say that. I think it's good to have constructive criticism. I think it's good to have people in your life that sort of cut through your own bullshit and point you in the right direction. And call you on your stuff. I think that's important just as a human being for anybody.
Except for that one person who said to put blank over Towers of Rabble. Screw that guy.
Ultimately, though, you still got to believe in yourself.
Yeah, so I mean, especially anonymous people on the internet bitching about what you're doing.
Right.
Blogging about what you're doing, podcasting about what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think you should just ignore them and us. I mean, ultimately, if whoever
except
bloggers, except I really think that he shouldn't let that affect the direction that he wants to take. So I mean, I don't know. It's kind of it's almost upsetting to me that he's letting these kinds of things bother him so much.
I mean, remember in 1996 when everyone's expectations for Smashing Pumpkins music were sky high, and Billy put out Pasticcio Medley, and then everyone immediately started to think the band sucked. That ruined everything. I mean, people still look back and say, Pasticcio Medley, that was the start of everything going wrong.
Meanwhile, there are fans who memorized Pasticcio Medley.
I mean, that was before the Tonight Tonight single, if I remember correctly. I mean, what difference does it make? You are able to release things as B-sides, or even more obscurely, and have it not matter at all. I mean, it's just obviously the case that that's true.
Gravity demos.
It's just obviously true.
Well, see, I'm wondering if the real reason behind this is that there isn't really a vehicle for him to release this stuff that's... I mean, it kind of made sense when you're releasing CD singles to release B-sides, or when you're releasing an album to have bonus tracks or something like that. And, I mean, when they did the releases for Tiergarten, the vinyl releases, he put B-sides on them. But if you're releasing your songs one at a time for free on the internet, what's the B-side version of that? Like, what's more... Nothing is freer than free. Like, what else do you do? Like, what's a B-side? What would be the difference between a B-side and an A-side if they're both released for free on the internet?
You click on a different part of the webpage.
You click on a rat or something, like a picture of a rat, right? And it's like a hidden track, and then everyone knows not to take it too seriously. Like,
because there does seem to be just this general, like, global acceptance of everything they release as a B-side. I mean, I think it's the opposite of what Billy's saying. If they just came out, like, before one of their random Tiergarten songs and said, hey, this is a B-side, like, they're, like, this week or this month.
This is not part of the 44.
This isn't part of Tiergarten. This is like a bonus track. We weren't going to release it, but it's just a B-side. I really think that it would be globally praised. Whatever it is. Even if it's a song like Spangled, that I read a lot of people still saying that it's their least favorite song from Tiergarten. If they, right before Spangled came out, if he said, oh, this is a B-side, we weren't going to release it, but, we might as well release it anyway, I guarantee it would be people's favorite song.
Chris,
yeah.
the new marketing strategy for the band, no more albums, only
Just
B-sides.
All B-sides, all the time.
And I think it's just on a... I was thinking about it when he said that he has so much material from when he was working with Mark Tulin, back in 2009 and doing the early demos. I just thought to myself, man, I'd love to hear those. I think all Pumpkins fans who've been following the band in recent years, just really feel for Mark and what he contributed, and his death, and I just think it would be a wonderful tribute to Mark to hear some of those songs. Yeah, I guess that's a little bit self-serving because I want to hear those songs. But I do think that Mark, at the time, in mid to late 2009, when Billy was probably still reeling from Jimmy having left and trying to figure out what direction he was heading in, Mark was obviously a really important person to Billy, and I think it would be great to hear that music. I'd love to hear it, but even if he said this is, obviously really rough, I think that would be just amazing, even just on the level of here's where they were at that time, and here's what Mark, what Mark helped out with. So
they put out that song with Sky Saxon. There's an example of putting out a song under the radar, and I actually really like that song, Choose to Choose Love. I think a lot of people think it's cheesy or whatever, but I actually really enjoy it. And
yeah, I'd forgotten about that one.
See, it's so obscure you forgot about it. And yet it was released for free online, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Yeah, my intuition is how they'll release the digital release of Oceania is probably through SPRC. And so, what's to say they couldn't release more B-sides, additional tracks? When Billy initially proposed Tiergarten, I thought kind of the concept was at the very end there was going to be this massive box set with DVDs and tons of extra music and just extra stuff in general. So I think he obviously, when he set out on this project, he had an intent to document it, with Art Shea and all these people, and really just released a ton of music, and I just wish he would give us some B-sides.
Well, and I think he has an opportunity because there's going to be an in-store musical offering for Oceania. And the album, I think Billy said, was only about 60 minutes long. There's room on it for a bonus track or two.
Well, you know what he could do? I mean, he could do some kind of download. I mean, I don't know how they would do it exactly, but, you know, where you download your Siamese Dream track, you know, outtake or whatever on SPRC, and you also, like, there's some kind of new track thrown in as, like, a hidden track or something. I mean, I can think of all kinds of ways where he can use the old music, you know, to gain more attention to the new music.
Or put like a little insert into the liner notes with like a tiny URL to a download site or something.
I know, he should get Colbert to give him a whole hour of the Colbert Report. Think of the promotional, that's gold. Just call Colbert up. I'm sure Stephen Colbert will do that.
If he just donates money to Colbert's PAC, at least then his name will be at the bottom of the screen, and you don't have to use real names. I mean, that's been kind of a running joke. People have been using fake names, so Billy can just put, like, you know, buy Oceania now or something. And
I guarantee you,
along the crawl.
I guarantee you, a huge number of our audience is like, is he serious? They're never going to put the pumpkins on the Colbert Report. Does he not realize they're not very popular anymore?
Are you being sarcastic, dude?
Anyone have anything else about any of the recent news? We're all stoked about the tour coming up. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, Wednesday is kind of like going to be like Christmas, I think. I'm really hyped. I mean, I'm hyped to a level I haven't been, I don't know, in a really long time, like probably since
your expectations
I was a
are
teenager.
Way too high.
Yeah, I think we should cancel the tour. Your expectations are too high.
Cancel the tour. One old-time fan thinks it's going to be good.
No more B-sides. Expectations.
Better call it all off.
I'm like totally giddy and hyped over this whole thing. So I'm really excited for the tour. I'm going to be downloading all the boots so I can get ready, so I can know the songs they're playing, know what the new songs sound like. So
yeah, I'm
anyway.
not excited for Wednesday. I'm excited for Thursday morning when Eric gets up early to put his recording up online.
Crap.
We can all hear it.
After recording.
Oh, Thursday morning we'll be driving back from LA.
You're the captain, Eric. This is you don't understand your role in the community.
Yeah, we might have to take away your badge
Well,
if you don't get us the music.
If Monty brings his
Timely
laptop,
fashion.
I can bring my card reader and send it to someone to split and track.
Eric, you can debut all the new music on crestfallen.com. He laughs, but says nothing.
Well, thanks for joining us this week. If you're planning on attending a show during the upcoming tour and would be willing to come on the podcast for a short interview, please use the Contact Us form on hipstersunited.com or send me an email at chris@hipsters.
Elijah Wood?
Also, if you are
That's you?
Elijah Wood, you can also use the same methods to contact us.
Our final song this week is Piss It! Hell yeah! Woo!
Sorry, our closing song this week, instead, in honor of its exclusion from the Footloose soundtrack, is Window Pane, live from the Netherlands on January 19th, 1992. See, Jason, if they play Pissant during this tour, then maybe our next podcast, our closing song, will be Pissant from this tour. So keep your fingers crossed, everybody. Good night.
Anybody got any wine? Wine, wine. This is water. I wish this was wine. Why should... If I give this to you, you're just gonna throw it at me. see what you gonna see. Do what you gonna do. Yes, down today. Down today. Do what you gonna do and see what you gonna see. Do what you wanna do. Yeah, start today. Start today.
The Hipsters United podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Smashing Pumpkins, Virgin Records, or Warner Brothers Reprise Records. All opinions offered by panelists or guests of the Hipsters United podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of the Smashing Pumpkins. All audio during the show is licensed for non-profit use per the terms and conditions on the Live Music Archive at archive.org. Intro music is from the Machina 2 album released for free download on the internet by the Smashing Pumpkins in September of 2000.